So that's one type of dream, right? The one type of dream is where your subconscious talks to you about things that possibly happen in your life, right? That's one type of dream, right? Now, another type of dream is like an egoic dream. It's a dream that it's not necessarily not your higher self talking to you. It's you talking to you. It's like your lower self talking to you. It's like it's you talking to you. It's like your lower self is looking through a mirror and you're communicating with yourself, right? Now, those dreams are very strange. Those dreams often come in form of nightmares. Like you're usually like running away from something, or you're falling, or sometimes you're flying. Sometimes they're like, it's just it's it's like your lower self is talking to you directly, and but it's talking to you directly, of course, in a non-literal way, right? Like for instance, I had this dream for years, and I was in the same space, and there's these same four power lines, and I was flying, and no matter how high I went, I tried to go outside this square power line box, but I could not go because the power lines were there. If I knew I touched the power lines, I would die, and just couldn't do it. But then eventually, as my life kept progressing and I kept doing things outside of my comfort zone and I kept pushing the box, eventually I got enough courage to say, this power line can't hold me anymore. So I flew past the power line. But when I flew past the power line, I ended up being in a bigger box with power lines, but the box was just bigger, you know what I'm saying? But I had more space to go in. And basically that was myself telling myself that, one, the principle of power is stopping you from doing something. So you have negative power and you have positive power. Well, negative power can be outside forces that are being pushed upon you, and you're going along with them instead of fighting back. Or it could be positive power. It could be the will to want to do something, but you're not doing it because you're scared or something. So it could go both ways. And when your ego is talking to you, or when your higher self is talking to you, and you're going through your dreams trying to find understanding from it, oftentimes you have to break everything down piece by piece and ask, what does it mean to me? Like, what is this meaning? So when you're like your lower self is talking to you, it's very about you, right? And oftentimes, in my experience, it's in third person, right? And in third person, you're watching yourself do these things. But then sometimes you're you're in your dream body doing these things, but you don't necessarily have complete control, and you're kind of just in your body watching it. But then sometimes you're in your body and you have complete control and you're completely lucid, right? And then things are happening. But then there are other times to where you're in third person, right? And then you're also in your dream body and you're lucid and you can control things, but you're also separate from your body. And when that happens, I believe like your ego, your lower ego is talking to you, but your higher ego is talking to you as well at the same time. So you're seeing multiple dimensions within that one dimension. So you're having your dream. Okay, put it like this. Make it a 3D accessible. You're in your body right now, right? You envision you being outside of your body, looking above you at the crown of your head, right? Or at whatever you're doing. Now, you being in this body, you have the consciousness of the vision of your eyes. But then if you project your mind consciousness to above your head, you can see from above you in a hazy way of how you're sitting and what you're doing, right? It's like that in a dream, except for you don't realize, but you're in multiple dimensions at once. You're looking into dimensions. Like, essentially, that's what that is. You're looking into that plane of existence, but you're also outside of that plane of existence looking into it. So you're in multiple frequencies at the same time on different planes. And I think I'm not really sure why this is done, to be honest. I don't know why that happens. And in the dreams where it happens, I don't fully understand it, but I do have to take the principles from it and say, I think at those times in my life, I was able to live in the third dimensional environment, but detach myself from my lower ego and attach myself to my higher spiritual body, my higher self, and I was living life in moments of being tested from my higher self and its frequencies to see what I would do. And instead of clinging to what I knew, which was my lower ego, I think I separated myself from that, and then it resulted in having those experiences of those dreams because my higher self decided that it was time, and I was receptive to receive higher frequencies. And those higher frequencies makes you think differently. It expands your mind, and it also expands your experiences as well. Now, there are also other types of dreams, right? And these dreams, I have no idea how it happened, to be honest with you. But I do know this. At the time, I was reading the Bible, and I was reading it heavy. Like, there was times in my life where that's all I did. Like, I didn't listen to no type of secular music. I didn't watch secular television, nothing. Just purely the Bible. And in those times in my life, I had the most unexplainable things happen. Like, very high etheric things happen to me that are unexplainable. I cannot explain, and even to this day, I'm still searching for the answers to those experiences. But in one of the dreams, right, like, and this one I was in the Bible heavily. In one of the dreams, I had three dreams in one, right? And in the first dream, we were talking one language. In another dream, we're talking another language. Then in the third dream, we're talking a language I've never heard. Now, in the first dream, it was like we're talking Spanish, right? And then in the next dream, we're talking like a Asian language. I believe it was like Chinese, right? Now, mind you, at this point, having the dreams, I've studied a little bit of Spanish and I studied a little bit of Chinese, so it's not that unheard of that I would have a dream in Chinese, except for the fact that in the dream in Spanish and Chinese, I was speaking it fluently. I was in first person, but I didn't have complete control over what I was saying. But I had a certain type of control, but it wasn't control over my words. It was control over a feeling, a certain type of frequency within the dream, and I was saying things in that language fluently. Now, and then I had the third dream, which is a language I'd never heard of. So in the first dream in Spanish, I actually ended up talking to the person I was talking to in the dream. I ended up talking to them in real life, and it was crazy how it happened because it just didn't make sense. It was like someone was on Facebook and they sent something, and it was like it really talked to my spirit, and I was like, I hit them up on what now be on some weirdo shit, and I was like, hey, I know you're going through something right now, but give me 5 minutes and I'll change your perspective on your life. Then we talked. Like, for some reason, she ended up calling me, and she basically agreed to it. And we talked, and I talked about Jesus and saving your soul and stuff like that. And she was like, I really need to hear this. I felt like we had this conversation in a dream just the other night. And then when she said that, I had like deja vu, and I remembered the dream, and I remembered the interaction. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. But at that point, I didn't think nothing of it until one day I'm at work, and I was like 23, 24, and I was working at Jack in the Box, and I was on the grill. And the reason why I say that is because when you're on the grill, you really don't have time to stop to do something completely different other than the grill, because there's always something to do. But this lady walked in. Then this voice in my head, and this is the time where I was hearing voices in my head. I know that sounds crazy, but I was literally hearing voices in my head, which was my higher self or my God talking to me. And it used to be clear as day. Like, my mind would be completely blank, and then a voice will pop into my mind, and it will talk to me. And the voice said, look up. And I looked up, and I saw this lady, and it said, go talk to her. And I was like, God, I can't go talk to her right now. Like, I'm at work. Like, I'm busy. He's like, don't worry, you'll have time. So I was like, okay. So I finished up the order. I washed my hands or whatever, and then I went to my car to get my Bible, I think. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I talk to you? She was like, yeah, sure. Now, mind you, I'm working at Jack in the Box. She just came in like pretty much for no reason, right? She didn't even order anything. She just came in and sat down, and then God told me to go talk to her. So I went to go talk to her with my Bible, and I was like, yeah, what you doing here? She's like, oh, I'm waiting on the airport, but my flight's delayed, so I'm just waiting here, whatever. So all right, cool. So we started talking, and I was like, are you like, do you have a religion? And she was like, no, not really, whatever. I was like, well, have you ever heard about Jesus Christ? And she was like, no, but I wanted to know more about it. And then so we started talking about Jesus and everything, or whatever, right? And she at the end of the conversation, she's like, this is crazy because I could have sworn I had this, like I was talking about this in my dream. Then that's when it hit me. It was like, for whatever reason, Yahweh was putting me into other people's dreams as an apostle or as a advocate for Jesus Christ, right? Which now at the time, like now it's on like the way I see things are on a completely different level. But at that time, that's what it was, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. So like the aspect of religion and dreams also play a big part in how you're being perceived, how you're perceiving things. Now I had a third dream too, which was in a language I've never heard. And me, I love languages. So almost every type of base language on earth I've either looked at, tried to learn little pieces of it, or I've seen or heard it. But this language to this day I still not have heard. I have not heard this language. It wasn't a language I've ever heard in my life, nor like it was just so different from anything I've ever heard. And I've never met that person yet that I know of, you know what I'm saying? Because if I'm in my own dream space, by going to someone else's dream space, is that still my dream space? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I in their dream space or are they in my dream space? And that kind of takes me to like the next part.